Welcome back to another Mobility Monday video. Okay, so for this month, I have decided to bring our area of focus to the thoracic spine. So if you imagine the spinal column, you've got the cervical, thoracic, and lumbar. So the thoracic spine sits in between the two, about here. Got a little picture here to give you an idea of where that is. And when we start to get into it, you'll notice this particular area of the spine, as far as flexion and extension, and then lateral extension where you're going from side to side, it doesn't have a whole lot of mobility, but there is some. But it's not an area I think that we pay a lot of attention to. So that's why I wanted to bring our awareness, your awareness, to that for this month of February. Now in rotation, when we're turning, that's where you'll feel or you'll see most of your mobility with that area. So if you will bear with me for this video, I'm laying the groundwork for what we'll be doing for the rest of the month. And I think this is going to give you a good understanding, and it'll help you kind of hone into or zero into this area of the spine that we're going to be moving with, exploring, and playing with. Okay, so let's first begin by placing one hand over the upper part of your chest and one hand on the lower part of the rib cage. And it's just a gentle placement of the hands. We're going to do some breathing just to drive or bring your awareness, your focus into this area that we're working with. And if you like, you can close your eyes. And allow yourself to tune into your breathing. So you're simply being aware of your inhalation and your exhalation. Might even feel how your body is moving underneath the palms of your hands as you're breathing. Now with your next inhale, as you breathe in, imagine breathing into or towards the palms of your hands. So it's almost like you're directing your breath more towards the front part of your body. So the upper chest, the front part of where the rib cage, the lower rib cage sits. And see if you can feel a bit of that expansion as you're breathing towards the front body. And then from here, you're going to take your hands and place them onto the sides of your rib cage. And as you breathe in, our next inhalation now, imagine breathing into your hands here, into the sides of the rib cage. So you're filling up this space, if you will. Might almost feel that swinging out of the ribs as you breathe in, and how they kind of draw back into midline or towards midline as you exhale. So take one more breath with that. And for the next one, this is going to depend on the mobility of your shoulder. And if you can place your hand, you just kind of rest it on your back. And if not, that's okay. What you're really doing is taking a moment to now imagine. And if your hand is back there, see if you can feel yourself breathing into. So as you inhale, breathe now into your back body. And this one might be a little bit more challenging to feel that, and that's okay. Take one more breath. And let your hands rest on your legs. So now this next time as you inhale, see if you can come back to that memory of the front part of your body, the sides, and the back. So as you breathe in, Now see if you can feel that sense of expansion in all areas, the front, sides, and the back. And release as you exhale. Do that a couple more times, breathing in to the front, the back, or the sides and the back. Exhaling, and just one more time on your own. Good, and relax the breath. So that will start to hopefully give you a sense, bring your inner awareness within, and starting to feel, maybe give you a new sense of awareness that you haven't had before of what's going on inside your body. So we're going to come back to placing one hand over the front part of the chest and the other hand on the lower part of the chest. And I want to walk you through flexion and extension in the thoracic spine. Now the movement is going to be very minimal. I wouldn't be able to see most likely you doing this because we want to, for what we're doing right now, we want to focus the movement to just this area. So I'm going to turn to my side for a moment. So you're probably used to seeing maybe people doing this cat-cow variation in a sitting posture. Okay, so if I allow my lumbar area to come into play, then yes, I'm going to get this nice, long bit of flexion, right? And then if I still let my lumbar, the thoracic, and my cervical area come into play, then it looks like I've got this huge, just a range of flexibility, right? Which in one sense maybe you could do. But what we want to limit it to so that we can focus in on that area and specifically work the thoracic spine is we want to keep the lumbar and the cervical area still. So this movement is going to be very minimal. And you really won't even be able to see. It's more about feeling, and it may take a little work to hone into that, and that's why we're doing this focus on the thoracic area. Okay, so one hand over your heart, one over the lower part of your chest. And so what I like to do is, as I'm exhaling, I kind of feel like I'm taking or pulling my thoracic spine or that area of the spine away from the hands without actually moving the hands. Like I said, it's very minimal movement. And then as I inhale, it's like I'm pressing the upper part of my chest into my hands. So to somebody walking by, it would look like you're not even really doing anything because there would be such little movement, but it's more of, it's so subtle, but it's what you're tuning into, what you're feeling. So if I let, again, my lumbar come into play, then yes, I can pull my hands away and press deeply into my palms of my hands, but that's not what we want for this particular part of what we're doing. So I'm just going to turn back to the front. Just kind of explore that for a few more breaths. And then release your hands and just take a moment. I always like to take a pause in between what you're doing, just to allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you feel. And then come back to placing one hand over the heart and one over the lower part of your rib cage. So this lower hand is there to serve as a guide. It's there to let you know if you are starting to move into the rib cage and the lower part of your spine. So you want to keep those ribs drawing kind of together and keep them drawing down so that we're limiting the movement to the area above that. Now what we're going to work on is this lateral extension where we're going side to side. Again, it's going to be very minimal. It's mostly you feeling it. You can do it with the breath, inhaling and then exhaling, as you come into lateral extension. You may take the opposite breath with that. You do what feels right or do what feels comfortable for you. So with one hand over the heart and one on the lower part of the rib cage to serve again as your guide, letting you know if you're moving or if you're starting to draw that rib cage up. And then as you're ready, so you'll slowly, in that thoracic spine, feel that sense of tilting towards one side. And I kind of tuck my chin a little bit, because what can happen as we're doing this, if I kind of leave my chin to neutral and my neck starts to come into play and I think, oh wow, I'm getting this great, you might think, I'm getting this great deep extension here. Truth is, so I tuck my chin just slightly, just to keep my cervical neck from moving, so that I can really keep this movement in the thoracic spine. And then you'll come up and switch to the other side. So just play with that. And you can always explore this more on your own. Something to notice is that the shoulders also probably want to come into play as you're doing this. So see if you can initiate that movement just from the thoracic spine. So once again, just a quick rundown, slight tuck of the chin. Keep the shoulders still. They might come into play a little bit, that's okay, but initiate your movement from your thoracic spine. Release that, take a breath, just take a quick pause. And then we'll move into rotation in the spine. This one can get a little tricky also, because a lot of things want to come into play. We might be used to taking this big, deep twist, right? Going from side to side, and it feels good. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just our purpose right now is to focus in on the thoracic spine. Okay, so let's take your right hand on the upper part of the chest, left hand on the lower rib cage. Again, this hand is serving as your guide, letting you know if those ribs are trying to pop up. Right hand. So we're going to twist towards the right. And it's the same thing here that we were doing in lateral extension. I give a slight tuck to my chin, so it just helps to keep that the cervical neck, or the cervical part of the spine, from moving. And shoulders remain as still as they can. Initiate the movement from the thoracic area of the spine. And then you slowly start to twist towards the right. And those shoulders are really probably going to want to try and come into play here and join the party, but just see if you can. So it's not going to be a real deep twist. And then once you kind of find your stopping point, if you want to explore, you can then lift your chin, and you can add in a little bit here. We're moving into the cervical area now. You can take your gaze back. But find your stopping point here first before you do that. Or you can just stay here, continuing to find even that tiniest little bit more in the twist. And come back. Switch hands. So left hand on the upper part of the chest, right hand on the lower part of the rib cage, slight tuck of your chin, shoulders nice and quiet. Initiate the movement from the thoracic spine. And I kind of imagine, so you've got your vertebra, I kind of imagine moving up the vertebra one at a time. Keep those lower ribs still. See, if you start feeling that twist happening there, you've gone too far. Take your time with it. Take one more breath. And come back to center. All right. So hopefully this is beginning to lay the groundwork for you in moving. So honing in your movement to just this one area of the spine. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to concentrate our work, your work that you're doing on this area. You want to start to work and increase that mobility in this area of the spine. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. You can send me a direct message, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that way you'll get notice of when a new video will be available. Thank you very much, and I'll see you for the next one.